Yud base. A mattress or cushion of leather requires the water should enter into them, but a round pillow or ball of stuffed form, an amulet, or a tefillah do not require the water should enter into them. This is a general rule. Anything that contents are not usually put in and taken out may be immersed unopened. The following knots do not require the water should enter into them: knots of a poor man's clothing, of fringes, of a sandal thong, of the tefillah of the head of the tight, of a tefillah of the arm if it does not move up and down, or the water of a water skin log or a pouch bag. The following knots do not require that the water should enter in them: the knot of the shoulder of the undershirt, the knot of the edge of a sheet, and also has to spread it out. The knot of the tefillah of the head, if it is not tight, of the tefillah of the arm, if it moves up and down, of sandal straps, and clothes that are immersed when washed need only to be immersed until they produce bubbles. But if they're not immersed when they dry, they must stay immersed until they produce bubbles and cease bubbling. Okay.
Okay. Hey, Kol yados kalim. Okay. So talking again about handles of kalim. And these ones have not yet been cut down to size. So let's say you've got a frying pan, it's got a wooden handle in it, and the way they've done it is that they've like shoved the wooden part in, and they're going to cut it down to size after it's been put in. Okay, but now meanwhile it became tameh, and he wants to take it to mikveh without taking out the handle, because it was, a bit of a drag to get the handle in, and now you've got to take it out, whatever, and it's too long. And so he's still gonna cut it. You only have to tovel them up to the point where you're going to cut. Okay, Rabbi Yehuda Omer ad sheyat bil eskulo. So Rabbi Yehuda says you can't do it in half measures. The water's not touching the outside of the wooden handle there, and therefore it's not toveled. Whereas the Chachamim over here are saying, well, no, that's not the important part. The handle is not basically it's been submerged below the level where it's going to be cut, and we view the part that's going to be cut off as if it's not there. Okay, so no problem there. And the halacha follows the Tana Kama. Shalsheles dli gadol. So now, following on in this sort of topic, you've got a bucket with a chain. It's a big bucket, and it's got a chain that you would lower it into the well with. Okay, and this chain needs to be arba'at fachim. So your standard length of a chain, we learned this also in Masechas Kalim, is how long is the standard chain that is a chibur to the bucket, and so that's 4 tfachim. Okay, so all you have to do, if you want to tovel it with the chain on it, you just have to go down until 4 tfachim, because that's all that's really considered halachically connected to the bucket. Okay, v'shel katan asara, and for a small bucket it's 10 tfachim, because the small bucket being lighter, you can send down further, and okay, matbilan ad makom hamida, and you just have to measure. You just have to put it down until the mark of 4 tvachim or 10 tvachim, wherever that comes out on the chain. You could draw a little pencil line across the links and just tovel it up to there. And again, Rabbi Yehuda, consistent with his previous shita. Sorry, this is Rabbi Tarfon now. It says Rabbi Tarfon says Ad sheyat bil es kol hatabas. Says no, you can't just go up to there, because that last link is an integral part of the chain. So the whole of that link has to go in. So you have to do up to the 4 tfachim v'od, so that you can tovel that last link. Hachevel shehu kashur b'kupa. If a rope is tied to a basket and you want to tovel them together, eino chibur ele imkein tafar. It's not considered a chibur. You could just unknot it unless it's actually sewn onto the kli. So if it's sewn on, that's part of the kli. But if not, untie it and tovel the kli separately. Okay. Beis Shammai omrim ein matbilin chamin betzonein. Okay, so this is talking about the topic of hashaka, where you've got water is unique among the liquids in that it can be purified even if it's tameh. Okay, whether it's tameh or mayim she'uvin or whatever, if water goes into a mikveh, it becomes tahor. Okay, as opposed to other liquids, which as long as you can still see them and they have a distinct form, they remain in whatever state they were, and putting them into a mikveh does not make any difference. Okay, so Beis Shammai have an interesting shita over here that you've never heard of course, because it's not the halacha, but it says ein matbilin chamin betzonen. The water that you're toiveling, in order for it to become tahor, it has to be the same temperature as the water that you're toiveling it in. The same thing, cold into hot also doesn't work. So let's say you've got the Chamei Tveria, which is technically a mikveh, and you put cold water into there, that would not work. The lo yafim b'rayim, and you can't put clear water into polluted, cloudy water, or lo rayim b'yafim lo, and also vice versa. So imagine, like, in terms of like a practical case, how this would work is like, let's say you've got a bowl that you want to toivel, and the bowl is full of water. So if you had to submerge the bowl just so that the water just goes over the rim, so there's still a very clear separation between the water inside and the water outside. According to Beis Hillel, once the water is connected, it's all mikveh water, so the kli is toivelled. According to Beis Shammai, if that water inside the bowl is hot water or cloudy water or whatever it is that's not the same as the water in the mikveh, the water inside does not become purified. It doesn't become mikveh water, and therefore the kli itself also would not become toivelled because you haven't submerged it properly. Okay, that's the world through the eyes of Beis Shammai. So Beis Hillel omrim matbilin, not a problem. It doesn't matter what temperature differences, and of course that's the halacha. Kli shehu malei mashkin. Now, what happens if you've got some other liquid inside your kli? V'hit bilo. So again, let's say you've got your cup, and your cup is full of wine or juice, orange juice, whatever it is, and you just dip it into the mikveh a little bit so that the water comes over the edge, but you can't actually have but the liquids aren't like becoming diluted in each other. Okay, ki'ilu lo taval. That doesn't work, because now, even though the water is connected with the juice, but the juice does not become mikveh water, and therefore it's a chatzitza that prevents the kli from becoming tahor. Okay, male mei raglayim. Okay, I have to guess that this is just a thought experiment, because I don't know why you would ever take a kli full of urine and stick it in the mikveh as is. But if one did that,
Right.
so urine takes on the halachic status of water. Interestingly, okay. Male mechatas, what happens if it's full of water from the paraduma? Here's an interesting one, because the water from the paraduma, of course, is that paradoxical situation where it imparts tumah to someone who carries it not for the mitzvah, but it purifies somebody from tumas meis. But it's certainly not sort of your standard mikveh water. And if you're doing anything with it that's not for the sake of sprinkling, then you're going to become tameh yourself. So now you're going to put this water that's matame into a mikveh. So he's, again, partially submerge it just so that the water's touch and still inside the kli. Okay. Yirbu hamayim al mei chatas. So in fact, we're saying that more than that, if the yirbu hamayim ein hakli tahor ela im kain rabu hamikveh bekli. In other words, so water from the mikveh flows in and becomes the majority inside the kli. So if the kli is less than half full of meichatas, and mikveh water flows into it, and it's the majority mikveh water, then the kli becomes tahor. Okay, and the meichatas is batal. I wouldn't recommend wasting meichatas on this, but again, thought experiment. Rabbi Yossi afilu kli machzik kor. He says, even if you've got a massive kli that holds a core, a huge measure, okay, but ein bo ela revius, and it's only got a revius of meichatas inside it, ki'ilu lo taval. It's not batel to the rest of the water, because meichatas is so chashuv that it will never become batel.
No.
Okay, so that is the opinion of Rabbi Yossi, which is not la halacha. Okay, Mishna Zayin. Okay, so first of all, start off again from some first principles. Minat Torah, food cannot transmit tuma to a person. Okay, it's if the food is tameh, it's tameh, fine, and if it's truma, obviously you're not allowed to eat it. If it's chulin, of course you're allowed to eat it. But if a tahor person comes and eats chulin food that's tameh, minat Torah he remains tahor. But Chachamim said this is not a good situation over here, because if we don't put some sort of gezerah in place, what you might have is a situation where people are just not nizhar with this food. So let's say you've got a kohen who's sitting eating truma, so he eats his truma with one hand, and then he reaches over and picks up some chulin tameh and puts that in his mouth as well, and now the truma is going to become tameh in his mouth. So they said, if you eat a chatzi pras, a chatzi pras measure is it's a small measure, not a tiny measure, but but if a person eats that much of tameh food, then his body will become tameh. Okay, and in this way they put a disincentive in place so that kohanim will not get into the habit of eating tameh food along with their truma. Okay, so kola ochlin mitztarfin, and by the way, the same thing goes for liquids. Liquids also, we know that liquids they made a whole bunch of stringencies on it, but as well, if a person drinks a revius of a tameh liquid, then he will also become tameh. Okay, so so any kind of food. You could have a half shear of bread and a half shear of tameh grapes, or whatever it is, and once you've eaten those together, that makes you tameh. And similarly with liquids, if you have tameh orange juice and you have a little sip of tameh orange juice and you have a little sip of tameh wine, they join together to make the shear, and the person will become tameh. So there's a chumrah over here of somebody who drinks tameh liquids and there's a stringency that is higher than of a mikveh. She'asu bo shar mashkin kamayim, because here other liquids are actually are treated similarly to water, that they could join together, as opposed to a mikveh, where the only thing that can puzzle the mikveh at the beginning is mayim shuvin. If orange juice falls in, okay, so you just let more water flow in until it comes up, and it doesn't puzzle the mikveh. But when it comes to tameh liquids to be tameh the person's body, that we do let them join. Okay, tomorrow we're going to finish Mikvaos and start Nida.
Nida, okay. Vav Yud Aleph. Regarding basins in a bathhouse, if the lower one is full of drawn water and the higher one is full of valid water, and there are three lugim opposite the hole, it's invalid. How much need to be in the hole? That it should be equal to 3 lugin, 1/300, and 1/20th of a pool. These are the words of Rabbi Yossi. But Rabbi Elazar says even if the lower one is full of valid water and the upper one is full of drawn water, and there are 3 lugim next to the hole, it is valid for all they said. All they said was these 3 lugim had fell in. Some substances complete a mikveh and do not disqualify. And some disqualify a mikveh and do not complete it, whether neither complete nor disqualify. The following complete a mikveh and do not disqualify it: snow, hail, sleet, ice, snow, and liquid mud. Rabbi Kiva says, Mishmael argued with me, saying snow cannot complete a mikveh, but the townspeople of Mediva testified in Mishmael's name that it had said to them, "Go and bring some snow and make a mikveh from the beginning." Rabbi Yochanan ben Nori said hailstones are like water. And how do they complete a mikveh and not disqualify it? If a mikveh contains 40 saw less 1 and a saw of these substances falls into it, it completes it. Thus they complete it and do not disqualify. The following substances disqualify a mikvah and do not complete it: water, whether tummy or tahor water, water in which fruits or vegetables have been soaked, and water in which they have been cooked and marked that has not fermented. How do they disqualify it? A mikvah and not complete it. I'm sorry. How does a mikvah disqualify? How do we disqualify a mikvah and not complete it? If a mikvah contains 40 saw less 1 quart tov, and a quart tov of these substances falls into it, it does not complete it. They disqualify it with 3 lugam. But other defined liquids, fruit juice with fish juice, fish sauce, and mark that is fermented, sometimes complete a mikvah and sometimes do not complete it. How so? If a mikvah contains 40 saw less one, and a saw of these substances falls into it, it does not complete it. If it completed 40 saw and he put in a saw of these substances and then he removed the saw, it remains valid.
Okay.
And okay. If there's one deranged female in the town, or Canaanite woman or female kuthin, all the spittle in the town is tameh. Regarding someone whose garments a woman tread, and who sat with him on a bench or boat, and the Sekmanite recognizes him as someone who eats truma, his garments are tahor, but if not, he must ask her. If a single witness says that one was rendered tameh and the other person says, I was not rendered tameh, he is determined tahor. If 2 witnesses say you were rendered tameh and it says I was not rendered tameh, Red may have rules from tameh, but can come and say he believed through himself. If a single witness says that he was rendered tameh and 2 witnesses say that he was not rendered tameh, he is deemed tahor whether in a private domain or in a public domain. If 2 witnesses say that he was rendered tameh and a single witness says that he was not rendered tameh, he is deemed tameh whether in a private domain or public. If a single witness says that he was rendered tameh and another single witness says that he was not rendered tameh, or if a woman says that he was rendered tameh and another woman says that he was not rendered tameh in a private domain, he is deemed tameh. In a public domain, he is deemed tahor. So,
One more.
oh yeah, I know how to get the new volume here. Regarding a place, this was Rob Olive. Regarding a place which was a private domain and then became a public domain and then became a private domain, when it is a private domain, if 2 uncertainties are ruled tameh, then when it is a public domain, its tameh remains uncertainties are ruled tahor. If a terminally ill patient was in a private domain and they took him out to a public domain and they returned him to a private domain while he is in the private domain, his tumah uncertainties are ruled tameh, while he's in the public domain, his tumah uncertainties are ruled tahor. If Shimon says the public domain interrupts.
Yeah.
Okay. And all else. If a person was plowing and he struck a rock or a fence and he shook the plow until that point is a base of pras. Where Elliot says one base of pras can make another base of pras, and Rabbi Shua says sometimes it does, sometimes it does not. How so? If one plows half a furrow and then plows the other half to the side, that makes another base of pras. However, if he plows the furrow's length and then from that point on, the base of pras does not make another base of pras. A person plows either a pit containing corpses to a pile of bones, to a field in which a grave was lost, to a field in which a grave was subsequently found, or to a field that is not his property or a Gentile plows, it does not make it a base for pras, because the ruling of base for pras does not apply to Philistines. If a base for pras field is above a tower field and rain washed down soil from the base of pras to the tower field, even if the field was red and was now turned white, or white and now turned red, the base of pras to soil does not make the tahor field into a base of pras. Okay. And hey, a marrow bone of a corpse or a marrow bone of sacrificial animals, if one touches them, either closed or punctured, he is tameh. A marrow bone of a nevela or a marrow bone of a sheretz, if one touches them when closed, he is tahor. If they are punctured at all, they can play tumah through contact. How do we know that the same applies to carrying? Because Scripture states that he who touches and he who carries, whatever comes within the scope of tumah through contact comes within the scope of tumah through carrying, and whatever does not come within the scope of tumah through contact does not come within the scope of tumah through carrying. The egg of a sheretz in which an embryo has been formed is tahor. If it has been punctured, even slightly, it's tameh. A mouse that is half flesh and half earth, if one touches the flesh, he's tameh. If he touches the earth, he's tahor. But Yehuda says, even if he touches the earth opposite the flesh, he's tameh. The living flesh that is dangled on an animal convey the tumah of foods in their place, but require preparation. If the animal is slaughtered, they become prepared through its blood. These are the words of Reb Meir, but Reb Shimon said they do not become prepared. If the animal dies, the flesh requires preparation. The limb conveys tuma tuma as a limb of a live creature, but it does not convey tuma on the limb of a nevela. These are the words of Reb Meir, but Shimon declares it tahor.
Okay.
And we have sota. Hey, Dalit.
Hey.
On the day Rabbi Yeshua ben Harkinos founded Yoav, on the day Rabbi Yeshua ben Harkinos was founded, Yoav served the Holy One. Blessed is he only out of love that is stated, even if you kill me, yet he will put in my trust in him. But still the matter is in doubt. I will trust in him, I will not trust in him, learn from what is said. It says, till I perish, I will not describe my perfect faith, yet this shows how they acted out of love. And Yeshua says, who will remove the dust from your eyes? For you expounded all your life that you served the Almighty only out of fear. As it is said, man who is wholesome and upright, God fearing, and shuns evil, but has not Yeshua, your disciples saw that he has acted out of love. If one who warned his wife and she went into seclusion, even if he heard from a passing bird, he must divorce her and pay her for the marriage contract. These are the words of Rabbi Eliezer. But Yeshua says, not until the woman who's been thread by moonlight gossip about her. If a single testified, I saw her becomes filed. She did not drink. Moreover, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. If a single witness testified, I saw her become defiled. She did not drink. Moreover, even a slave and even a female slave are believed to qualify for receiving payment for a marriage contract. A mother-in-law, mother-in-law's daughter, a co-wife's, a husband's brother's wife, and a husband's daughter are all believed. Not, however, to disqualify from receiving payment for her marriage contract, but only that she not drink. Okay. We're on to Shabbos. Okay. Shabbos says we may not give hides to a Gentile tanner or clothing to a Gentile launderer unless there's sufficient time that they be completed while it's yet day. But in all these cases, Beis Hillel permits the act while it's still sunup. Reb Shimon ben Gamliel said, my father's household used to give white clothes to a Gentile launderer 3 days before Shabbos, and both concur that they may place the beams of the oven press and the rollers on the wine press. We may not roast meat, onions, or eggs unless there's sufficient time for them to become roasted while it's yet day, and we may not place bread in the oven near nightfall, nor a cake upon coals, and let it sufficient time for the upper surface to form a crust while it's yet day, and Reb Eliezer says sufficient time for a bottom surface to form a crust. Okay.
Okay. The devil. Okay.
Enjoy.
Have a wonderful day.
Thank you too. Bye.